And welcome back to the Morning Blend. More than 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. That means there are millions more caring for them, often at home. Burnout is high among caregivers. So today, the benefits of assisted living and memory care. Judy Blanding is the executive director at Azura Enhanced Assisted Living and Memory Care of Fox Point. Hey, Judy, good morning to you.
Hi, Molly. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I was just thinking about this and the fact that with the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of people are wanting to stay home, needing to stay home. And with caregivers making that decision, so many people are probably likely to keep that loved one at home. And this is probably a big concern for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is caregiver burnout.
Right, right. And so we've really seen an influx because of the pandemic of caregivers just really trying to care for their loved one in their home or going to do a lot of visits in the person's home, and it's really an exhausting process. And so what we're seeing is a lot of people are just overwhelmed by the pandemic and are really aware of how much care their loved one needs, and that is why we're here. We can offer all of that support.
Are there certain signs that people should look for in loved ones who are doing caregiving that they might be burnt out or really struggling?
Especially when you're dealing with somebody with a cognitive impairment, it can be exhausting because of the continuous questioning, being asked the same question over and over again can be exhausting to that caregiver. And when you see that caregiver start to get frustrated and they suddenly become irritable and physically exhausted. One of the biggest things we see is a physical decline in that caregiver. They aren't sleeping, they aren't resting, they really aren't caring for themselves. So that is one of the first things I notice is when a caregiver comes to us, I look at them and just say, how are you doing? Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you taking time for yourself? And when a lot of those questions typically are no, I'm not. I'm focused on my loved one. That's a sign, and that's a huge red flag because you have to care for yourself as a caregiver before you can care for somebody else. So we really watch for that caregiver's physical and mental well-being. And when there is a shift and a change, then it's time to seek some additional support.
Yeah, and I think Judy, as parents, we all know that taking a break sometimes just gives us that much more energy to love and enjoy the people that we care for. So I appreciate that one of the definite benefits of assisted living is that the caregiver gets a break. What are the other benefits that you help people understand to assisted living care?
Sure. So, a couple of the benefits are the socialization, I think, is the biggest piece of this. When you're caring for someone in their home, it's just you and that person, which is lovely. And we don't diminish the quality of that. However, being in this type of environment, you're surrounded with additional people who are in a similar situation. So, the social engagement, the activities, the feeling of inclusion is really, really important at this stage of life, to have the variety of activities, the golfing, the crossword puzzles. When you're a one on one caregiver, you don't have the energy to necessarily do that. So, this environment really allows for us to bring more to the table in terms of activities, cooking, that's a little soup activity. We were all making soup together. These are things that we're able to do in this environment that maybe you can't do at home because you just don't have the time, the resources, and quite honestly, the energy anymore.
You can imagine the joy that people get with engaging in things like that too. I know in your field you use a word or a term that's called enhanced assisted living. Is that sort of a step beyond assisted living?
It is. So what we are offering is it's more of a clinical care opportunity for someone. So when your care needs get to a certain point, not every community is able to meet those needs. It could be a feeding tube, it could be a catheter, it could be because of some chronic illness you have. So not every community is able to provide clinical support for those modalities or those things that you might have. And that is something we are able to offer here at Azura and Fox Point is an enhanced assisted living to truly meet all the clinical needs so that you don't ever have to move. You don't ever have to seek a skilled nursing environment because we will be able to provide you with all of those needs right here in Fox Point.
I love that you mentioned the skilled care and all of those different services. But the thing I know from visiting your place too is it's all the comforts of home. It's such a high level that the people have things that are so much a source of comfort, I would think, because it truly feels like home, from the way you serve meals to the way you interact with the people who stay there, to even things like the lighting. I think it's just wonderful, and people have such a sense of peace of mind knowing that a loved one is cared for there. And I wonder about people who are currently in the hospital. Let's say they need rehab. Can they still come to Azura?
They can. So we are able to provide some in-house rehab services through Lesla Therapy, who is our provider, and they are able to meet some of those therapy needs that somebody is discharged from the hospital with. So we are able to meet those needs. And I love what you said. You know, this environment is a home-like environment. That is truly the Azura philosophy. So to be able to have a high clinical need, but to be able to get those services in a warm, cozy, home-like environment, it is unique, and there isn't a lot of options like that out there. So to really be able to be in a cozy, warm home that doesn't feel like a hospital or doesn't feel like a rehab is a really nice thing that people are looking for. And it does really help in recovery and having the best quality of life.
You can see that when you visit. We ran out of time, Judy, but really quickly, if you have a loved one who has memory loss and you're aware of it, but not quite sure if they need memory care, is that something you can help sort out with people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can walk you through that and let you know what is appropriate for your loved one and what is not. And that's what we're here to do, is to help find those solutions and help you on the right path.
I love it. Always such a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you, Molly. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. And call Azura if you or someone you know could benefit from learning about their exceptional enhanced assisted living or their memory care services. The number is 414-376-5716. You can also go online to learn more. It's azuraliving.com.